This company's been mentioned a few times throughout the conference, Google. They've got a few products in advertising specifically, and there's all these echoes of how much they're currently crushing it with AdMob, but really going to crush mobile advertising coming forward. It's been a lot of fun to watch Google evolve on the mobile side, and we really enjoy supporting it any way we can for our clients. Our keynote today is the lead of the mobile ads for Google. He's been in advertising at Google for over a decade, literally, all the way from search to display. It was his team that's come up with this Google Ad ID, not the Android team, as they might want you to think. But he, as really a visionary at Google of where things need to go. And you can blame him, of course, for needing to switch that over here pretty soon, but we're here to help. He's an amazing guy. He's been very, very participatory in this whole conference. You've seen him here asking questions, like trying to get as much feedback as possible. It's been really, really wonderful just to have you as our guest in general. He's got a couple of kids. They're about to go on vacation in Japan. That's coming up. He's just a great human being, and I'd like to welcome to the stage John Alferness.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
That was way too kind. Before we get started, I think we need to give Peter, the entire Toon crew, and everybody involved in this event just an amazing round of applause. This is an incredible event. And in particular, I got to call out the party last night, which was, Jesus, am I getting old? Because that party was amazing, but it brought me back like 20 years, and I don't know that I can party like I used to. But then to follow it up with frickin' McDonald's this morning, like what a better way to roll out of the party. One last round of applause. Great, great conference. So yeah, I'm John Alferness. I work at Google. I lead up our mobile ads products, and I've been in the advertising space for about 10 years at Google, and I was doing this stuff in a variety of different forms before I even joined Google. I've got the dubious honor of sort of two things. One, this closing keynote, and two, being the idiot that stands between you and what sounds like a lovely booze cruise out on the Sound. So I'm going to try to keep this kind of high level, kind of fun. I'm also going to try to wrap a little bit early so you guys can pester and bug the Google guy up here with a bunch of different questions. What we thought we would do, I wanted to try to bring this all together because the conference has been great. The conversations that we've had really make me excited about not only where this space is today, but the potential and where it's going to go over the next 10 years, right? I mean, it is going to be truly extraordinary. So we thought we'd start with a look back. Measurement has really been at the heart of digital advertising ever since the beginning, right? And it is measurement that's really transformed advertising in the digital space. Let's go back in time. When digital advertising first started, measurement was quite simple. It was about counting impressions, counting eyeballs, maybe counting clicks on an ad that led to a landing page. And the most sophisticated kind of measurement we had back then, we're talking the late 90s now, was maybe a postback that came from the landing page that you were on, actually confirming that the user had gotten there. It was extraordinary in its simplicity because for the first time, it gave marketers true ROI closed loops that they could actually see what was happening with their dollars. And it led to the proliferation of digital advertising that we know today. But it was just the beginning. Then came e-commerce. It became a lot easier for users to buy stuff online. And digital measurement led the way here as well. No longer were we just measuring clicks to websites, eyeballs, et cetera, but we were measuring the activity that happened on those websites. When the user was presented with the product page, did they purchase the item? Did they just put it in their cart and abandon it later? This led to an extraordinary growth in the in the advertising ecosystem that we saw through the mid-2000s that was really fueled by e-commerce. by direct response advertising, by search advertising, display advertising, and the really tight measurement that you had here, right? You could not only measure that purchases were happening, but you could measure the value of the purchase that was happening with, you could measure the value of the purchase that was happening, and you could close the loop fully from an ROI perspective. Advertisers started to look at this notion of target ROAS. I want to know what my return on ad spend is going to be. I want to know what my ROI is going to be. The sophistication that grew out of this time of measurement was quite extraordinary. But now we enter what we believe is a third phase. It's mobile. And the thing that changes everything with these damn little devices that we keep in our pockets is that they're personal. You carry them with you everywhere you go. And for the first time, digital measurement and advertising has the ability to really bring the user to the center of everything that we're doing, to tell a story about the user and how they're interacting with these products, not only online, but offline as well. Unfortunately, mobile not only presents a huge number of opportunities, but it has a ton of challenges as well, right? That's why we're all here. That's what we're talking about, the challenges of mobile measurement and mobile advertising. And the first example is one you guys know very well. So if we go back in time, if I wanted to buy something online, it was quite simple. I just went to the website, found what I wanted. Maybe I started with a search ad, maybe I started with an organic search, display ad, clicked on what I wanted on the website, and I purchased it. But today, that path to purchase is much more complicated, simply because users have multiple devices, and they use them. These devices are too seamless. They're too easy for our users to use. They'll reach out and grab whatever device is closest to them, and they'll try to complete a task. You've all done this. If there's too much friction, you put the device away, and you pick up that task at another point in time. Users are weaving paths through multiple devices to complete single transactions, and they're doing this day in and day out. This particular stat says that 78% of shoppers are using multiple devices to research to eventually consummate that transaction later on one of those devices. 78%. Imagine, as marketers are not able to measure all of these different points on the path to conversion, what that 78% means. We're all desperate to know when the demand is going to start being there for mobile advertising. But unless we can close this loop, as well as the other loops we were talking about, advertisers aren't going to see the value. Unfortunately, folks like Google have taught these marketers so well to expect this closed loop ROI. They're looking for it, and they're not necessarily seeing it in the mobile numbers because of these silos. It's not the only silo, right? Mobile does this incredible thing. It starts to bridge the digital and the physical worlds, again, with the user at the center. This is an example from I/O, but I want to give an anecdote from when I was here in Seattle. I landed on Wednesday night. My wife and I are huge foodies. And I know Seattle has an incredible food scene, as we've showcased a number of times so far. But I had also heard that you guys do good sushi. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of strange. We've got really good sushi in San Francisco. I've been to Tokyo. I've had amazing sushi. And somebody mentioned this Shiro's place. So what do? I do a bunch of research in my room on my laptop. I look for a bunch of different restaurants. I get a feeling that there's sort of this corridor here in Seattle that's going to have good food. And then I pull out my phone, and I open Google Maps, center on my current location, and all I do is type in restaurants. And I get those little red chicken pox, sort of dots showing me all of the interesting restaurants. And I basically head towards Shiro's, because I see it on the map. It's not far from my hotel room. Shiro's is great. Oh, my God. I get there, and the hostess, she was wonderful, but she informs me that there's going to kind of be a hell of a wait. I don't know if I really have the patience. I still don't know that I believe the sushi's going to be that good. So fine, you can put my name down. And then I start wandering the corridor a little bit more. I'm looking at other restaurants. Nothing looks nearly as busy as Shiro's, so I'm patient and I wait. Finally, I go back in, and I dine at Shiro's. They were kind enough to give me a seat at the counter. The sushi really is frickin' impeccable. I would put it up there with the best of what we've got in San Francisco, and it starts to approach Japan, so you guys are doing really good work there. Don't worry about that. It's also cheap, comparably. I spent $100. I got totally full. I got slightly drunk. $100. $100. Shiro's got $100 because I walked into their restaurant. There's plenty of points of attribution along that way, right? If we had ads in Google Maps that led me there, that would be a huge point of attribution. Yet in the end, right, even though I followed this path, even though I ended up at a store, at a restaurant, and I spent all of this money, even though it was my mobile device that helped me bridge that digital and physical world, ultimately nobody got credit for it. Right? This happens day in and day out. Think about how many times you do this. Think about how often you do this based on an ad that you see. It drives me nuts. In our search ads on Google, right, we've got like addresses and phone numbers and all of that stuff. A lot of times, folks will just take the information, go to the address, and go to the merchant on their own. Again, where is the attribution? Something that we're working hard on at Google. I know a lot of other folks are as well, but it's a great example of these silos that are built up and how much more opportunity there is as we start to unlock these silos and stitch these paths back together. Last, and this is almost insidious, right? Okay, one device, and now we have silos. It's like, what the hell is going wrong with this model, right? Mobile apps and mobile websites live in two completely separate worlds. And it's not like we just have two different cookie spaces, right? They're actually different kinds of cookies. It drives me nuts. Users don't give a crap about this. Users love the web. Users love apps. I personally believe apps are huge, and they're going to continue to be so. What we're seeing at Google says some of the 80-20 numbers might be a little bit overblown from an apps perspective. Happy to talk to any of you guys about that. But consumers don't care. They get the content they want on the web. They move to an app. They move back to a website. And I got to tell you, what we're doing at Google, and we got to do it, we got to make it more seamless for users to weave these paths through the web, through apps, and back again. But until we get the digital measurement really ironed out between these two spaces, we're going to run into a myriad of different attribution hurdles that are going to slow down demand coming into mobile advertising. There's a number of folks in the audience that are looking at this kind of stuff, and I'm really excited as we start to close the gaps here. I want to pivot, and I want to talk a little bit now about the apps landscape specifically. This was one of the things that I was most excited about. So 10 years at Google, first, 7 or so on search ads, and then somebody finally convinced me to jump into the mobile display world. I kind of thought they were crazy, but this ad mob thing really intrigued me. The idea of apps and advertising inside apps. I'll tell you a little story. When I first joined the ad mob team, it was about 2.5, 3 years ago. And again, I'd been in search ads, so I had been used to the kinds of conversations that I could have with advertisers. They were very rational conversations, right? They would talk about ROI and the quality of the users and the engagement, and we could talk to advertisers about CPCs in the $10, $20, $50, $100 range because the return on investment was just incredible. And then I started talking to my app developers and advertisers in the app space. It was just all about volume. I don't know, I want 99-cent installs, get me as many as you can. Is that it? Is that like your parameters, 99-cent installs and nothing else? Because do people actually do anything when you install this app? Does the app ever get used? Are the users qualified? Are the users valuable? And I got to say, I am extraordinarily happy that over the last 18 months or so, this whole landscape has changed, and it is thanks to all of you in the room that have helped push folks forward, that have built the tools and the technology to really unlock things like LTV and educate the community around all of this, right? And it's happened in a number of other ways as well. Users are at the heart of all of these ecosystems because they ultimately make the choice of what they want to engage in. And we see that users are engaging in this pivot as well. Users love this whole concept of freemium. 90% now of the apps that are downloaded from the Play Store are free or freemium based, where users can then engage more deeply and pay more later through in-app purchase. In-app purchase has been extraordinary, right? The growth in in-app purchase revenue over the last year or so has blown my mind, and it's blown a lot of our minds at Google as well. But it's tricky, because as a lot of you know, while in-app purchase can generate more than 90% of the revenue for some apps, it's often driven by a very, very small set of users. In some cases, it's like 5% of users drive 90% of revenue, and I've heard from some very large customers it's even as small as 0.5% of users driving by far the lion's share of revenue. If you don't get that 0.5% right, think about what you're leaving on the table. What if you were wrong? What if it wasn't 0.5% of your users driving the revenue? But what if there was actually 1%, 2% of users driving that much revenue? You've segmented or mapped them incorrectly, and now you're losing out on a whole ton of money. It makes this measurement, it makes this tracking and analytics thing so much more important. And last but not least, thank God the developers have come around. The conversations we have at Google with developers today and folks who want to acquire users is a conversation that I'm used to. It's a search ads-like conversation. They talk to us about the value that they want to get, the lifetime value that these users are bringing in. And now we're having conversations about cost per install in the $5 to $10 range. Sure, some people still come to me, with these 99-cent propositions. But these folks know that they're willing to spend $7, $10, $15, $20 for installs. Think about somebody like Uber. If you can bring a loyal user into your app, think about how much money you're going to generate over time. Think about folks like Amazon or even the big game guys who are generating hundreds of dollars from users every month. We still have education to do, and I've done a bunch of polls throughout the audience. I think we have sophistication in some of our strongest mobile app-focused type customers. What worries me is that some of the traditional customers in this space, the traditional digital customers in this space, have not quite gotten their arms around apps yet. And they're still having a conversation like I was having with my game developers 2 years ago. They're asking for these 99-cent installs, and what scares the hell out of me is that they're not going to win those auctions, right? Their ads are not going to show. They're not going to acquire those users. So I encourage all of you, as we're doing back at the Plex, to help educate broadly so we can keep this ecosystem very, very vibrant moving forward. This is a little bit about how we talk to our developers about this. It's not just about acquiring users, throwing them at your app, and expecting that you're going to make money, but there's really 3 steps, right? First is finding the right users, the qualified users who are going to engage with your app. Second is finding new and creative ways to bring them back into your app time and time again, and when they're in your app, you got to engage them. You got to keep them happy. Last but not least is finding ways to monetize once those users are integrated into your ecosystem, right? Once they've been excited and once they've been engaged. And we talk about doing this around a unified platform, and what we really mean here is data is at the core. If you're not measuring this stuff, if you're not measuring the value of your users, the activity that they're doing there, what you're spending to bring them in, what sources they're coming from, you're never going to be able to build this tight loop. At Google, we're working incredibly hard to find ways to help connect app developers and brands to users. On search, we're finally doing a better job of making app discovery easy. We're doing this across the organic side, but also across the paid side. And as data is key throughout all of this, we're looking at the unique insights that we have from the Google Play Store to suggest relevant keywords to our advertisers so that they can have the best chance of finding their users on the core Google search results page. We're doing this on YouTube as well. I think this is pretty cool. We hinted at this a little bit earlier, but video is just an incredible medium for helping users understand, not just growing your brand, but helping them understand what kind of an experience they're going to get in-app. So we've taken our YouTube TrueView formats, which we've already seen app developers, especially game developers, leverage, and we've added this notion of a TrueView companion for apps. So as you're watching and learning about the app or the app experience, you can engage right then and there. Right? You can install the ad from within YouTube, or you can install the app from within YouTube itself. Let me comment on the AdMob network for just a second and what we're doing there. App install has been an incredibly powerful advertising format and medium on the AdMob network. We've installed millions upon millions of apps as a result of this. The AdMob network over the last, I guess about a year or so, has doubled the amount of money we're paying out to publishers. We have more than 650,000 apps now with the AdMob SDK embedded in it, and we see over 900 million unique devices. And I think we serve, it's about 200 billion impressions a month. So we're large, we keep growing, but we're working really, really hard at keeping the quality of the network high, at bringing in the right sorts of demand. App install has been just a great vehicle for that. And we're working hard at unlocking new ad formats. We got digs for ad formats earlier, so I have to call this out. I'm not a big fan of banners either. We're working hard at transitioning the industry from banners to interstitials. Interstitials are a little bit more disruptive for our users, but the nice thing is that you can replace essentially 5 banner ads with 1 interstitial, and publishers are still making more money. Interstitials give users an awful lot of context about what they're about to engage in, and they're very, very easy to dismiss. We're bringing video click to download into these interstitials as well, and again, we're leveraging the rich insights and data we have from the Google Play Store to allow advertisers to do affinity targeting against the apps that users already have installed. This has been a big ask and something we're very, very excited to bring to life. Deep linking. I don't think we talked enough about deep linking in this conference. There is so much more to do here. This is clearly going to be part of the future that we all need to embrace. As we start to break down the silos and get the data out, we're going to see more and more of this. Google is just getting started. Some of our friends might have a little bit of a head start on us, but we're working hard here. On the search side of the world, this is going to work for organic. This is also going to work for paid ads. The example you see here, I come to San Francisco. I don't have a hotel. Looking for one, so I search Hotels San Francisco. I'm a loyal Hotels Tonight user. I have Hotels Tonight on my phone. We understand that. We give you a deep link that takes you straight into the Hotels Tonight app at the point of interest that makes most sense for the user. We're doing the same thing on the AdMob network. Imagine a user in an entertainment app. User's a huge Deadbeat fan, and they got cut short binge watching their last session of Deadbeat episodes. This comes up as an interstitial, deep links the user back into the Hulu Plus app, and they can finish watching their Deadbeat session there. It's all about the data. Really all about the data, because the data is bringing all of these insights to life. It's teaching us what's working and not working for our users. And so at Google, we believe incredibly strongly that it's not just about getting data back into our own tools and pipelines. Because again, we've been at this for a long time. We know there's a lot of issues with just assuming that we can keep the world closed. We need to support third parties, like our friends at Tune. We always make it, we at least try, to make it as easy as possible to get this data out, to be able to split your postbacks so that you can get data back into our analytics systems if you choose to use them, but also out to third parties. And with this data, we find and develop more tailored business models. Look, in-app purchase came out of some smart people looking at the data of what was happening to users in their games. And that's the example we have here, right? Somebody started to notice, if I show a certain set of users these promotions versus ads, these certain sets of users are going to engage more with the promotions and buy, others don't, so I'm going to backstop that with ads. It's a fairly simple business model, but it's worked really well. And without segmentation, analytics, and data about the user, we wouldn't have gotten here. A quick aside, because I got to make fun of my company. You guys all know this, not as casual user and frequent user, which I think is dumb. You know this as whales and minnows. We're just a little bit too, I don't know, politically correct or something to use whales and minnows. But anyway, what excites me is not that we now have the ability to do things like IAP business models dynamically in AdMob with Google Analytics, but is the fact that IAP is just the beginning. I'm starting to talk to app developers about not showing ads to certain segments of the audience. Why not? You've got the analytics. Maybe there's users who don't engage in IAP and don't engage in ads. Why are you wasting your impressions on those users who might not be clicking or engaging on your ads? What other kinds of models can we put in place? Ultimately, it's about bringing measurement to the very, very heart of digital marketing. And while this is a shameless plug for AdMob with Google Analytics, it doesn't matter. I don't care who my app developers are using for this solution. I don't care who my advertisers are using for their analytics solution. Because I just need to have the conversations with these guys that are rational, that talk about ROI, that talk about the value of the user coming in. But this has been an extraordinary partnership, and it has proven to me, by taking Google Analytics, by fully integrating it inside AdMob, the way that that resonates to the community says that all of you guys who are involved in measurement and analytics and digital mobile marketing from this sort of a mindset we've got a long, very, very rosy future ahead of us. I like to finish with this slide. It works incredibly well for my publishers, my app developers, and my advertisers who kind of want to ignore this mobile thing. And again, we work with a lot of traditional advertisers, and oftentimes I get sort of the, well, this mobile thing is great, but it still seems to be changing. Can we just wait until it's done, and then you'll tell us what the right thing to do is? What's worse is I have these conversations with publishers, and they're like, please just tell me, do I build the mobile website or the app? I can make my tablet website the same as my desktop website, right? Everybody's just looking for an easy way out. And I don't have an easy answer for them. My answer for them is, shit, if you want to be successful, you're going to do all of this. And you're going to do it across all of these devices. Because consumers don't give a crap. They want to use what they like, what's easy, what's frictionless, what's shiny, bright, and new, right? Who would have ever guessed that these things would have taken off the way that they had? Right around the corner, there's a lot more. And that's why this world is so exciting. Think about it. We're bringing wearables to market, and I've seen a lot of you guys, a lot of Pebble watches out there. I've seen a few Android watches, and you know, there's some sort of rumor that the folks in Cupertino might be doing something in this space. Heads-up displays, digitally connected televisions. Do you think these things are going to stay dumb? Do you think they're just going to be dumb terminals? Do you think we're not going to have rich, interactive applications on these devices? I can tell you for sure what we're not going to have. I have a couple pairs of Google Glass. I like it. It's a lovely piece of technology. You know, surfing the web on Google Glass, not the best experience. Apps are really going to be at the heart of this new world of mobile devices. That's why you guys are all in the right industry. You're in the right place. And I am so excited to be here, to be a part of it. And I can't wait to see what we're talking about next year. Thank you guys so much.
Want to do like 2 questions, maybe?
Sounds great.
All right, we can do 2. We got one right here. All right.
Thank you for the talk. My name is Shirley Lin from Yamobi. We're one of the top partner with Hess Offers, or Tune, I should say. Questions about your deep link kind of things. You know, with the mobile, yes, everybody is doing a lot of things on your mobile devices. However, because of the screen, the size of the screen, so which means with a Google recommendation, your list of the recommendation will be smaller and smaller. In other words, a pyramid, right? Those stay on the pyramid will always be in the pyramid. Rather than a cylinder of hot water, you keep bubbling, everybody gets a chance to surface to the top of the list. How do you address that?
So if I have your question
Hulu
right,
is only Hulu. YouTube is only one YouTube, and everybody else want to have some chances to be bubble up, right?
so if I understand the question right, it's really about search results. And as we start to shrink down the real estate that we have on our devices, we shrink down the number of search results that we show. That leads to fewer winners and almost more losers because users are less likely to scroll. We get this not only from the organic side, but the advertising side as well. We don't want too much of a head business on the ad side. It's dangerous, right? I think it's something that you all know. We've played with a whole variety of different user interfaces to try to somewhat compress and make sure we can show as many results as possible. In fact, from my days on the search side, I know that they very, very carefully measure not just number of results, but how the size of results is being impacted by either the decorations or other content that we're putting into it. We're experimenting with new mediums, new interactive modes. Does swiping work well? Like if we have a category of results, should we bucket that category of results into a single line and allow users to swipe through it? You see this in some of the local or sometimes you see it for local, sometimes you see it for restaurants and a handful of other things with a big bar along the top that allows you to very easily and seamlessly roll through. You know, and then we also have this notion that devices are starting to grow again in size, right? So I think we're going to get a little bit of a reprieve from that, but it's something that we just have to be constantly vigilant on. There's no easy solution, so to speak. Yeah, and I think user behavior is definitely at the heart of it, and it really is how we run things at Google. So we will do tons of live user feedback sessions where we watch users interact with these things. One of the hardest challenges we're going to face, something I encourage all of you to start thinking about, imagine I have a result. Imagine I have a top result for the user that's extraordinarily relevant. But I can either direct the user to a website, a very fine mobile website, or I can direct the user to the app. The user has the app installed as well. What do I pick? It's not clear to me today whether I send the user to the mobile website or I send them to the app. What if the app's a quick download and it makes for a much better experience? Do I try to push the user to download the app so that we can deep link to the app later? I think ultimately, and it's not going to happen in the near term, but ultimately we have to break down web and apps. They have to be more seamless. We have to get to a world where components of apps can almost be pulled out and integrated into websites or something like that, where these worlds really come together. And then I think users will get what they want, right? Because users don't see the divide today. Thank you. Other questions?
One more question. Anybody
this
want
is
to take
easy.
the last question of the whole?
We had earnings yesterday, so you guys can ask whatever you want.
He'll take it.
I'll ask the last
shit.
question. I heard a rumor from Peter. You were a visionary. I was wondering if maybe you could.
It's not true.
I was wondering if you could give us your insight on maybe where the next sort of large growth of revenue will come from. We heard from Rich this morning about how we're really seeing commerce take off inside of applications as we go from wave 1 to wave 2 of mobile infrastructure. So where do you think beyond in-app purchase will be sort of a good source or the future source of commerce and revenue within mobile?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's extraordinary right now is if anybody segments out the pie, right? You see so much revenue coming through the mobile gaming space, which is great, and I'm a gamer, and I love it, and I think it's amazing. But go back 5 years, this gaming space was not a big player in the advertising scene. I think we are going to see traditional retailers, traditional commerce folks come online and really light up in the app space. And I think in some ways we're going to relive that e-commerce revolution that we had on desktop now back in the mobile app space. And this was my plea for these large traditional advertisers or merchants, because if they don't figure it out, somebody else will. Right? There's too damn much money in the valley, as Rich was talking about earlier. If folks like Uber can come in and be upstarts against an entire industry, what's not to say, I can't say any names because they're all customers of ours, but like old customer X doesn't get replaced by new scrappy customer Y who engages in apps, brings that next generation in, does frictionless commerce. I mean, the things that are happening in the payments and commerce space in apps, if you guys aren't paying attention, do. It's going to turn any minute now, and it's going to be so easy and seamless to use your payment credentials across any app. That's going to reduce so much friction. And if these older merchants don't figure it out, the ones that were slow to pivot to the web, but the web kind of waited for them, it ain't going to wait this time. There's so much money coming into this. The attention, the time spent, so to speak, right? If any of these numbers are anywhere close to the truth, 60, 70, 80% of time spent on mobile devices is spent in mobile apps. If you're a company like, well, our friends up here, Amazon, you're going to damn well make sure you've got a great app with very little friction, and you're pouring marketing money into it, not only to get the app installed. User acquisition and install will hit a ceiling, and it's really going to be through this deep linking, this re-engagement back into these apps, driving users into specific experiences in the apps that I think that we're going to see the next wave. And it's not even that far off. It's like maybe 2 years off, maybe a year and a half off. And that's only going to, I mean, it's going to be exponential again. It was a great question, Jason.
Thank you so much. That's all
Thank
we
you,
have
Peter.
time for. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Right?